Chapter 19, My Hero. As Zeke and I stepped out of his tent, Mike and Max were returning with rabbits. Danny took the rabbits back to the food tent, and Zeke went with her to help. Mike noticed the dream catcher in my hand. "What's that?" "It's a dream catcher. Zeke gave it to me. His ancestors believe it captures nightmares and any demonic energy." "Hopefully it helps with the dreams you've had lately," he said. "It would be nice to get a good night's rest, but I don't see that happening anytime soon. Not until Jasper's dead." I wanted to fill him in on everything. My next words blurted out after I took a deep breath in. "Mike, we need to talk." "All right, but can it wait?" He shut it down. "Maybe after the funeral?" So much to say, but I nodded. "Sure." We started walking toward the tent where Evan sat with Alex's body. "How is Evan?" I shook my head. "Not good. He hasn't left her body. Once we lay her to rest, I think he'll feel a little better. I know it will not be easy for him, but this is what he needs." Mike took a deep breath and sighed. "I'm going to go check on him, see if he will join us for lunch. I don't think he's eaten since her death." "Sounds good," I replied. After I hung up the dream catcher in our tent, I joined the others at the fire circle for some rabbit. Another new food for me to try. I wasn't hungry in the slightest, but I couldn't starve this baby, even if this thing was half evil. It wasn't too bad, a little dry, but very close to the chicken my dad made on the grill. Lunch was super quiet since not a lot was said after Alex's death. Mike's attempt to get Evan to eat failed. He wouldn't leave her. Maybe if I took him a plate, he would eat something. It was worth a shot. I walked into the tent holding the plate of rabbit, and there was Alex's lifeless body on the cot, with Evan sitting in a chair beside her. Both of his hands held her right hand, his forehead resting down on her arm. The pain I was trying to push deep down returned in my chest, a mixture of his emotions and mine, sadness and hurt. The burning sensation was uncomfortable, but I needed to drive through it to be there for him. They cleaned up the blood and changed her outfit to a long royal blue sleeveless dress. Even her porcelain pale face was perfect. I couldn't take my eyes off her body, and he wasn't removing them to see who'd walked into the tent. "I brought you something to eat," I offered, knowing he had no interest in what I had. Sometimes a kind gesture of the little things mattered. "I'm not hungry," he mumbled. I sat the plate down on the table next to the cot. He popped his head up but continued to look at her. "This is a tradition we do for the fallen star children. We clean them up and dress them for the afterlife, hoping their souls make it to the other side safely." "She's beautiful," I whispered. Evan turned to me with weeping eyes. He noticed the bracelet on my left wrist. "Alex's bracelet," he mumbled. I stepped forward to take it off. "Oh, here, I forgot she gave this to me before she died." He placed his hand on top of mine, stopped me from removing it. "Keep it. She wanted you to have it." I smiled at him and he stood up. He leaned in for a hug and I embraced it. It may not be much, but sometimes just a gentle touch was what someone needed, knowing we were here for each other during hard times. Evan released his tight grip and stepped back. Sadness lingered in his eyes and his melancholy smile as he kept his gaze on her. I thought I was impervious to heartbreak. A piece of me felt lost, empty. It's times like this you think it would never happen until it does. I didn't just lose my love, I lost my best friend. We stood together in silence as I held his hand. After 5 minutes, I spoke with sadness in my voice. "It's time." Evan reached down to put his hands under her lifeless body and pulled her in tight. As we stepped out into the light, gathered around the tent was the entire camp, all eyes staring with sorrowful faces, some with tears rolling down their cheeks, patiently waiting to walk with us to the grave. Coming together for this sad time filled my heart with warmth. I grabbed Mike's hand as we walked behind Evan, and all the others followed. Once we reached the back end of the camp, I could see many crosses of other graves lined up in rows of star children whose lives had been taken too soon. I felt the wave of sadness. We approached the hole that was 6 feet deep with a pile of dirt beside it. Evan handed her body to Zeke. He jumped down in the hole. Zeke slowly passed her body down to him, and he placed her down in the dirt. Zeke reached his hand down to help Evan back out of the hole. She was heavenly with her beautiful hair and pale, snowy, soft skin. I stared at her in hopes that she'd sit up and say, "I'm good," like it was all a dream. But then it hit me. This was real. She was gone. I felt guilty that I couldn't save her. If I had run faster, could I have stopped her from getting shot? The image of her lying there in a puddle of her blood was burning into my brain. I knew we weren't real sisters, but a piece of me felt missing with her gone. It was the feeling of losing my grandmother all over again, even though Alex and I had just met a few days ago. Tears formed in my eyes, making it hard to see. I wanted to run away, but my legs froze and I couldn't move. I wanted to speak, but I couldn't find my voice. Everyone was silent as the entire camp of star children surrounded the hole, waiting for someone to say something, anything. I grabbed Mike's hand and squeezed it. Evan stepped forward. The moment I set my eyes on her, I knew she was my twin flame. Alex was my rock, my world, Evan said with his voice thick with tears. She helped us build this camp so we could feel safe and not be afraid of who we are. She took care of us and made sure we were healthy, like a mother for those who didn't have one. She taught us to not give up, to fight for what we stand for as star children. Alex was strong and independent. He paused as a tear fell. He stared down at her body. What will matter is not your memories, but the memories that live on in those who love you. A part of our family might be gone, but your soul lives on in our hearts forever. Go be with the angels. He knelt to pick up some dirt with his right hand and slowly sprinkled it on top of her body. Then he backed up beside me as I took my other hand to hold his for comfort. Off in the distance, dark clouds appeared and thunder reached our ears. During thunderstorms, my grandmother used to comfort me as a child, saying God was bowling with the angels. As much as I liked a magnificent storm, this wasn't the time, and we need to speed up the ceremony. I stepped forward to the hole and peered down at my newly found sister. Instead of rubbing my necklace for comfort, I took my hand and touched my wrist with the dove bracelet that Alex had given me. A tear rolled down my face and onto my shirt. The first time I met Alex was just a few days ago. She portrayed herself as this tough girl, and I thought she didn't like me. But once I got to know her, the tough girl attitude is what made her courageous, brave, and fearless. She cared a lot about Evan, this camp, and everyone here. This place is her home, and she welcomed Mike and me. I took a deep breath and wiped another tear off my cheek. I can say that she made me realize something about myself. I am powerful not because I wasn't scared, but because I went on so strongly despite my fears. She believed in me, she believed in this camp, and she believed in every one of you. Alex and I may not be sisters in this lifetime, but in the next, we will be united again. I continued to rub the bracelet. Alex didn't just die as a star child. She died as a hero. My hero. I will never forget you. I bent down to pick up the dirt and sprinkled it on her body. Rain began to drizzle. I stood up and faced everyone. We aren't just living. We're trying to exist in a world that struggles to understand us. Challenges will arise and we will face them together. I surveyed all the graves as I continued. Jasper and his trackers have taken the lives of many star children. There are way too many crosses out here. We need to work together as a team to fight for this camp and the other camps to keep them safe. Let's stop them before another hole has to be dug. I raised my voice angrily as I pointed to the ground. Everyone nodded their heads as they agreed. I looked back down her body as the rainfall picked up. As long as I'm here, I will not let them take any more lives. Alex's life was taken way too early, I said as I returned to everyone. Stand with me. Help me put a stop to him once and for all. Do it for those lives lost. Do it for Alex, but more importantly, do it for yourself, I pleaded. Everyone continued to nod. Jasper may have a mob of demons, but we have an army of angels, I shouted loudly for all to hear. The star children threw their fists in the air and yelled as if I had just given a huge speech right before a battle. The funeral had twisted into a rally. They shouted with excitement instead of sorrow, finding the positive in the horrific loss. I threw my hands in the air and shouted, "Evil will fall and the good will prevail." I saw Evan's smile come to light. For the first time, it didn't seem forced. My eyes glowed with flames, and Mike's began to glow with crystals of ice. Evan's also shone crystals, and before I knew it, everyone's eyes began to glow. Then the energy of orange and blue swirls around. No more deaths. This ends now, I shouted one more time to end my speech. Who is with me? Everyone shouted together. I am. Someone began to chant, Camp 47, Camp 47. And they all joined in unison. Goosebumps erupted over my entire body as I felt the power of positive energy inside me. They continued to throw their hands in the air, pumping fists, repeating the chant, Camp 47, Camp 47. Our family of indigos and crystals was willing to fight for what they believed in. I joined the chant, and as the adrenaline flowed through me, my heart rate increased. The orange flames in my eyes quickly changed to radiant purple. I noticed Mike's merging to purple, and so did Zeke's. Mike glared at him, as this was the first time that he noticed Zeke's eyes glowing the same as ours. Swirls of energy grew stronger, circling her grave in a clockwise motion. A beautiful sight, almost as alluring as the northern lights. The storm was now above us, and the rainfall had us all soaked. Take her soul to the heavens, I shouted. Then, at the same time, lightning bolts struck in my eyes. Bang! Lightning struck a tree off to our right. We all ducked down, frightened by the sound. While crouching low to the ground, something caught my eye. Violet swirls of energy went down into Alex's body and shot up to the sky as fast as the lightning hit the tree. I wasn't even sure if anyone saw. All our eyes returned to normal as our children continued to scream from the fear of the lightning bolts. The rumble made the ground shake. This time, it wasn't me. Evan quickly picked up the shovel and began to cover Alex with dirt while the rest of the campers raced toward the tents. I grabbed Evan's arm. Evan, let's go inside until the storm passes. Bang! I crashed down low as another bolt of lightning struck nearby. No, he shouted. She needs to be buried, or her soul can't lay to rest. Zeke grabbed a shovel and began helping Evan. Mike did the same. I wasn't leaving him either, so I grabbed a shovel in the pouring rain, praying I didn't get struck by lightning. Once the last drop of dirt was placed on her grave, the clouds dissipated and the storm was no more. Her soul was laid to rest. I was curious if anyone else saw the swirls of energy take Alex's soul up to the sky. Hopefully Jasper didn't see it. That was the last thing we needed, Dappa finding Camp 47. The datura flowers surrounded the camp for protection, but I still worried that Jasper could find a way to get in. Evan thanked us and walked back to camp, leaving just Zeke and Mike with me. It was time I had a talk with my husband about what he'd seen earlier. We filled him in on everything, from the tree vision to the memories of Electra and Zeke's mind, as well as the meditation session and the name on the paper. The more I told him, the more agitated he seemed. You meditated with him? Mike shouted. This wasn't going as I thought. Mike took my arm and pulled me away from Zeke so he couldn't hear what he had to say. Why was I kept in the dark about this? He asked me. Because of this. I knew you were going to be angry. He shook his head and paused. I'm not angry, just disappointed you didn't tell me sooner. I'm sorry, I apologized. That wasn't my intention. You shielded me from your thoughts, Amber. You never do that. I know, you're right, I agreed, feeling guilty of my decisions lately. I don't want to keep secrets from you. So much has happened over the past few days, and I was just trying to get it all figured out before I told you. But the more I kept from you, it ate away at me. Now I feel guilt with no answers to any of it. Mike took a deep breath and sighed while running his hands through his short hair. So now what? He asked. We both stared at each other in silence. I couldn't imagine his thoughts right now. Our bond was so close, and now a third person had slid in with unexplainable interconnections. Zeke stepped over toward us as he overheard our conversation. I would never want to be the reason to come between you two. Amber and I just wanted to find answers as to why I'm involved with her. Sorry, poor choice of words. Why there is an unusual connection. Mike bit his tongue. I needed to calm this before it gets out of hand. I may have an idea, I said. The paper Alex gave me had your uncle's name on it. If she thinks he knows something, we should visit him. Yes, I agree, Zeke replied. He works at North Florida Community College, which is about an hour from here. I don't have his number, but I can find his classes. Maybe we can catch him in between. It's probably best we talk to him in person anyway. I say we all go first thing tomorrow. Road trip? I asked both of them. I'm in, Zeke said. We patiently waited for Mike's response. He had a hand on his hip and the other rubbing the back of his neck. He took a big breath in and let it out. All right, I'm in.